there's still, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Hello everyone. I'm Dinesh from Aurora, India, and in today's very first episode, we have Yuvan from Techetit, and we'll be talking about how was his journey in the Web3 space, the pre-Web3 space, and how did he manage to raise grants, funds for his project, and what are his plans as of now, and also he would be giving you insights on how you can actually enter the Web3 space and start building. So yeah, I mean, pretty much you can go ahead with your a short intro, and then you can
Sure.
maybe get us into how did your pre Web3 era look like?
So yeah. So I actually, hi guys, I'm Yuvan. So I'm 20 years old. I'm currently in my final year of college. So I'm based out of Chennai. I'm doing my engineering in SSN. And I mean, I started off I think a year and a half back. I was during COVID. It's been 2 years now. So during COVID is when we started everything. Before that, it was just like a normal college going kid. Like I still am a normal college going kid. But yeah, I think COVID is what changed a lot of things for me in terms of at least building, shipping, and experimenting with different things. So yeah, that's through that journey, I think towards the end, Ticket was also born through we just learned Web3 through investing, got in through slowly. But I'll give you the details of how exactly we got in a little later. But the entire journey was more like I started off in COVID, experimented different things, and then figured out entrepreneurship was interesting. I liked it, and then just started building another company there, and then slowly moved in towards that space.
Got it. So going through a pre ticketing space, did you work on something else in the Web2 space, like any other startup you were having?
So yeah, so I think in my second year of college, which is I think 2020, I started this clothing brand. It's called One Drop. We basically made, custom clothing for colleges, startups, and all the fresher packs that you get, all the people who get for the ID cards, like their merch, their badges, mugs, all of those things, which is what we started off initially. We made we made pretty good contacts throughout the southern part of India. We sold a lot of colleges, a lot of events, a lot of events that we partnered up with as clothing partners. So what we did was essentially I picked a product that was simple to sell. So I feel like t-shirts was very easy for somebody to sell and understand what's actually happening. And that's when I started, okay, we'll pick a simple product, simple business model, and then we'll start selling. So there was no investment or anything for that. It was more like it's a drop shipping business model, right? So which means that once you have a user in hand, you get the money from the client, and then you place the order with the vendor, and then you make profits through that process. So it's more like you're not really putting in anything apart from your time and effort. There's nothing which you're losing. But obviously, there are higher risks in terms of that vendor not delivering up to your quality and all of those things. But all of those things you'll be doing before, like all the quality checks that you'll be, going through before you start off anything. So that's like a base requirement of validating how good your vendor is, how good products you want to give, all that thing. But after that's all set out, it's pretty easy to set the process of how you want to get a consumer and then how you want to sell t-shirts or any kind of merchandise to them. So that's what I did in the first and second year of college. And then after that, yeah, I slowly moved into the tech space because it was getting very monotonous. I didn't like the similar, it's a brick and mortar business. You have to do the same thing again and again. So that was kind of boring after a point.
Got it. So before entering the Web3 space, how was your experience in this startup space? Like was it like a hustle thing, or you were actually trying to build out something over there with this drop shipping business, or it was just out of passion, like building in the college time?
Yeah, I was actually the latter because we just wanted to build something for fun. So we started off with something which has very little investment and nothing. That's how we started off.
What
Sorry?
was the role exactly over there?
Uh, so so we started building this product out, and we handled everything like from like setting up the website to like finding vendors to like getting clients to like social media marketing SEO, like you can name anything, and we experimented everything that we could. It was interesting in like the first, 1 year, I'd say. The second year got very monotonous and very boring because you already have like a bunch of existing customers. You have a good vendor. Once all that is sorted out, there are very few places where things can go wrong, right? And after a point, it's just the same thing again and again. You just keep the machine going. There's no like involvement or there's no effort for you because this is not something which can scale at an exponential level because the dropshipping model is meant to stay at a mediocre level. Like, it can't go like this. It has to, just keep going like this. Probably a little bit like this, but it's meant to stay and like be in the mediocre like business. So that was the only thing. That was the only thing which got me boring. Like, there was something which is not giving me enough adrenaline, like, nothing exciting. So, yeah.
And like any like learnings which you got from the startup?
Yeah, lot. I mean, I think
Yeah.
one thing which I learned properly was how do you stall a customer? Like that's something which it's very different to like figure out, but that's one of the best things that I learned. Like when somebody is asking for like something, some product, or like when you have to pay your vendor something, you just need to like stall. Like you have to smooth talk, you have to talk like in such a way that you get like you have to buy time, right? Buying time, that's one of the most difficult things that you can do. But I think that's an important thing that I learned, like personally. That's my biggest learning. Like, how do you stall anybody that is asking you something, or if you have to do something, how do you get time from them? How do you buy time?
God, it's similar in the Web3 space as well, when you're just running the backlog thing, you just sprint goes on.
Yeah,
God.
yeah, that's true.
And like after this, like what, like when was your first interaction with the Web3 space? How did you like manage to
Uh,
learn about it? How did you
I,
know? Yeah.
yeah, actually, hmm, interesting. I mean, I started off as one of the other like 100,000 Indians who got into the crypto space during the bull run of 2020. That's when I actually like started getting. It's more like I started off investing in small coins first, like Bitcoin, Ethereum. Like I've always heard of cryptocurrencies, but I never knew how do you get access to that. Like I was never curious enough to like put effort and see how do you buy, how do you do this, how do you do that. Like I just knew like terms flying around like this guy has one Bitcoin, this guy has three Bitcoins. Like that was like in 2016, 2017. And then after that, 2020, we properly got like exchanges and like regulatory bodies and like few things where anybody can start investing. You don't need to do much research. That's when I started. Like I think one of the centralized exchanges, I put in some money, few coins I picked up. Like it was a little amount of money, but through the internships that I was doing here and there, whatever money I got, like I was just experimenting, putting in a little bit of money to see how it is. And then after that, I learned the technology. I learned how the markets are fluctuating, and then I learned like a lot of things around it. Then eventually ended up in coding, and then started up finding a problem, and then started building for a solution. And that's how like it turned into like a product which is Ticket, which is we're building right now. It's more like I mean, it definitely started off as fun project. It's more like we saw a problem and like, okay, there's something cool which people can, use. And then eventually it ended up being, I mean, it is like, it's pretty big problem that we're solving. So yeah, I just hope that that goes well.
Got it. So like like let's deep dive into like how was your journey in the like while building
Hmm,
from ideating the ticketing solution to like making it actual
hmm,
product. So
hmm.
how did you find your teammates and stuff?
Okay, so first thing, like, as soon as we had like an idea, like before we had an idea, we obviously built the team, right? So my co-founders are basically like one of my classmates from college, and the other co-founder is my classmates, like neighbor. So we used to just hang out together. We live like very close by. We used to just hang out together. We used to just talk about like nonsense, like go out. So that's when we realized that all three of us had similar interests in like blockchain and like tech in general. And we're like, okay, let's do something. So it wasn't like a very like well planned thing. It was more like a instant thing. Like, we started off with a bunch of people, like bunch of friends, and then in that, like a lot of people wanted to do different things. So out of the six, seven people which we started, there were only three people in the end who like, wanted to build this. So that narrowed down into three people, and that's who I'm building with right now. And after that, like we saw this problem of like, ticket scalping. It was a very natural problem that we were victims of the problem ourselves. We were like, okay, why are people reselling tickets? Why are people making so much money out of it? Why can't the ticket issuer make money? And then also that entire NFT hype was also going on. So we wanted to do something and like be involved in the Web3 space, at least to like just building, even if it didn't work out. So that's when I applied to Antler India as a fellowship program. This was 2021, I think September or October, and it took up a couple of months, 3 months-ish, for us to like get through the interviews. Like there were 5 rounds of Antler interviews, and once we got into that, we literally got in with an idea, not even on paper. Like it was just like verbal idea that we were just talking. There was nothing documented, no market research, nothing. It was just something which we wanted to build, and we saw an opportunity. And after we got into Antler India as a fellowship program, we started off from Jan to April was the program of 2022, and 2022, right? Yeah, 2022. So Jan to April, it was 16-week accelerator program, and we literally went from like a verbal idea to a paper idea to like a drawing, and then to like a website, and then to like a prototype. And then in May, we did one small event in our college. So the event that we did also was like not through like legal regulations and stuff. Like we used Razorpay to like collect money for like, NFT. So we had issues with Razorpay. Like their team keeps like they still keep calling me. Like I don't answer their calls. Like, that's how initially started. Like we just wanted to keep the user experience same as how it is for like on Book My Show or any other platform, Eventbrite. How people log in with email, pay with any other currency that they want, any other like method of payment that they want, instead of just narrowing down to Web3 or crypto or like people who understand blockchain. We want to just build for somebody who can anybody can use and give them an experience which is on chain, which is a little different. And it was more for like a person who's issuing tickets, like that's the main person that we are targeting, like that will be our perfect, target audience. But user experience, and at the end of the day, we're catering to the users, more like a B2B2C platform. So we had to like, make that also pretty seamless. So that's how it started off. Like that's how we started building, and that's how we've been shipping like for the past 1 year. It's been exactly 1 year since we started. And yeah, like between we've been also doing college in between all of this. So yeah, interesting.
God. Like, so did you like, I mean, you started with like just a paper, like not even on a paper. So like your experience in Antler, like how was it? Did they like considering Antler is like, one of the Singapore's top VCs, right? So they have been started to invest in this Web3 space. And I guess you were like one of the first startup in the Web3 space that actually got the grants from them. So like, how was
Hmm.
the experience or the like any learnings which might benefit the early developers, like the early builders from now?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. So, to give more detail about the program, it's basically Antler is a Singapore-based VC, and they set up different, entities in different parts of the world. So they've already set it up across the globe, like in the US and like Dubai and all of that places. But now they were setting up, set like back then they were setting it up in India. So it's called Antler India, and they were starting up with new programs to like, support entrepreneurs in college, people who are building. And our cohort, only the ones who graduated after 2020 were able to apply for that, right? Um, so there were like 2,500 to 2,600 applications, and they were selected top 8 teams to that. So in the 8 teams that they selected, they diversify their portfolio like from healthcare to like, farm care and to like fashion. There were two in DeFi. There was one NFT project which is ours. So they like widespread their entire um, like portfolio, I'd say, for this particular cohort into different industries, and they wanted to see different angles and different things. So there were three Web3 projects, including us, and yeah, like that's the like, whole idea of how Antler was planning to go. And for us, they were extremely helpful because uh, like essentially we didn't know anything about like product building or like tech, like how do you take a product to market? Like, I mean, I still don't know like, everything, but we were at like probably zero. Like now I can say I'm at least at like, one or like, five on a scale of 10. So, like that time we were like zero. We had no idea about how do you build, how do you, test your product out, how do you take it to market, like how do you sell it, like, basic things like at least terminologies that we got used to would be more, relevant here. So that's something which they taught us. Like it was pretty cool. We had a lot of sessions with different VCs, entrepreneurs, like designers, design thinking, different kinds of workshops that we had, and then people who already built companies, people who are in college and building companies, all of those people as well. So yeah.
Got it. So like when did you start? Like what were the challenges did you face? Like of course there would be like multiple challenges as you were starting from right from zero actually. So like any like major challenges like it can be from the tech side because like you like basically came up from a Web3 background and having no experience in the Web3 space like smart contracts, all this stuff. Like of course there would might be like a basic idea of also looking at like scalable product, having an actual product. How was like your like a journey over there? Like a lot of the blockers, the struggles, or the challenges.
Uh, I think one And one difficult thing that we had was building the product out. Like all three of us, although we are developers and although we're computer science students, we weren't very fluent with building like, projects or like, full stack development. So that's something which we needed help with personally. And once we got a hang of that, once we started picking that up and once we, got all of that sorted, then it was like much easier for us in terms of setting other things up. But the main thing that I'd say like I struggled with would be uh, hiring maybe. Uh, like I mean it's a little different. Like hiring was one difficult thing that I was trying to figure out because how do I take interviews? Like it's something which is new you're doing, like
Yeah.
all these new things that you're doing, taking interviews, like what else? Uh, I think the main challenge would be like, yeah, product building, like building a quality product with, especially with all your test cases and all of that. Setting that entire flow up is pretty hard. Like also something which you're building that you're assuming, saying that, okay, the customer wants this, they want that, like all your design creativity comes into the picture. And then when you actually go and talk to people, they're like, no, I don't want this. Like I want something else. I want, small changes. And those small changes verbally it'll be very easy, like, okay, just add a few buttons here, add like a form here, this, that. But from a product perspective, you're just like, oh shit, like so many changes. Like, we should have talked to them before. Like yeah, it's just the entire iterative process that we made a lot of mistakes with, and we still are making mistakes. Like, how else are we going to learn? So, yeah, that's how it actually went.
Got it. So like how much time did you like take from going like building a whole product like just from like a paper framework to having an actual
Mm.
then building it, developing it.
Mm. So our like development process was like so from the day we got the grants, we had like about two engineers on our team since like March or April. We've been having a couple of guys and they've been like building us like helping us build out like we get people on a consultancy like as in like we get our friends to work on it whenever they're free and they go back. So we also build at the same time. So initially the product was shipped, I think, within a month and a half, or I'd say 2 months to be good. Like we built a very basic prototype within 2 months, and the 2 months was like exponentially like this. And after that, it's more like linear. Like we're not able to hit that exponential thing again. Like I feel like it's an MVP stage. Like that's when everything is extremely heated up, and once you get that place, it's more like a linear progress of you are shipping every day, you are growing week on week or whatever you can track however you can track it. But at the end of the day, um, like the growth, the massive amount of growth is not as much as the early stages, right? So we're still trying to figure out like how do we get to that fast growth? How do we keep it like at the top of it? But it could also be because of college exams, all of the things like. So there are multiple factors and multiple things involved. All that being said, we still want to like still be at the top of our game, but which is a little hard.
Got it. So like, when did you like, host your first event, or maybe like the one you mentioned in your college, right?
Hmm.
When was it this?
This happened in May, last year of May,
Okay, so
or
like,
this year of May, actually, not last year.
so
Yeah.
like right
So
after you finished the MVP.
yeah, as soon as we got it out, we had the login flow set up, we had the payment set up, and payments like it was literally like a laser pay link, like just linked up. Like it was nothing, like uh, that was linked up, and people are able to buy tickets. There were like hundreds of thousands of probably bugs on the platform, but it was fine. Like we just shipped it, we got it in hands of users. After that, we were like, okay, there are so many things which we can work on, and we had a list of problems. Like this is something which we need. Like there are problems and there are list of problems. Like how do you consolidate and put a list? And the putting down a list of problems and the priority of how you solving it will come, I think, only when you get your product in the hands of either users or like your customers or like consumers, whoever's using it, like indirectly or directly. I think, yeah, that should happen quickly. Like we're also like, trying to figure that out. But so far we've learned enough to like not repeat that again. At least we're trying to get that out, like shipped faster.
Got it. So like the main priority was to get it out, or
Yeah,
then get the
yeah,
experience,
100%.
and then
Yeah.
build. Got it. Of
Correct.
course, like,
And correctly, like one more thing to add on, like correctly when we were like, in the midst of building it, there was like no major ticketing industry, like in NFT ticketing player. Like there was, I think one person in Netherlands or Amsterdam, but that was like 2017 or 2018 they started. But after that, there was like, not many major players. But then after from April to June, like from June to July, I think that particular month we saw like some 4 or 5 players come up randomly, like they were all having like 20,000 followers on their Twitter, like this they got, and they got some funding, this that, like we're just seeing like around, why is it so far? Like everybody is just doing the same thing as what we're doing, but we again like had to have modes of why we are different and all of that. So that was restructuring again, figuring out why we're still different than them. Most of them who are already in the market, they're catering towards the Web3 audience, right? They're catering towards people who know how to handle wallets, people who know what crypto is. So we eliminate like I think they eliminate like 90% of the market right there. I mean that's something which we don't want to do. We want to keep the 90% and probably cater to like the entire market of people who are knowing wallets without knowing wallets, like how wallet handling, whatever you don't know does not matter. Like as far as you're interested in the event which you want to attend, yeah, just come onto the platform.
got it. So it's more like your main target audience is how you can bring in the adoption over here, like getting the Web2 peeps
Mm,
on the
yeah,
Web3 side, without even
100%.
having to get into, tech part, like going knowing all the stuff, what is happening on the back end and stuff. So like how would you like differentiate yourself over here? Like what did you think while doing it? Like what was your thought process over here?
Yeah. So the main thing right now for us is you don't need to know anything about like Web3 or crypto when you're using a platform. You can check it out like right now. It's ticketh.io. You can go sign up with just your email. Go to some event. If it's a free event, you can register for free. If it's not a free event, there'll be a UPI option for you to pay if you're from India. If you're from abroad, we're integrating other payment gateways as well. So you can just pay with an UPI or like debit card, and then you can just get the ticket. Like it's not different from Book My Show. Like if you can actually get onto the technical level from a product perspective, the number of clicks and the number of user touch points is like 95% similar to Book My Show. Like that's how we've built it, right? Obviously, the time which the transaction takes is a little lot on the blockchain. I mean, if Polygon is being slow, that we can't really do anything. Like if it's like our fate. Like we just have to take it because we chose Polygon and we are built on Polygon. So like if the network is it depends on the complete network, right? If the blockchain itself it's very slow compared to how people are using like any other database or any other cloud server, which is very fast. Like it's in milliseconds, and blockchain it's in seconds, like probably 2 seconds or like 2.5 seconds, which is a lot for a user. Like it takes a lot of time. So we need to keep the user hooked onto the screen saying what exactly is happening in the background. We have to keep informing that and informing that in such a way that they don't get scared by the terms like minting, NFTs. Like that's something which we're still trying to figure out. Like on our platform, there is a lot of NFTs and terms which is used, which we're trying to eliminate. But like the main idea is we want to keep the user informed about what is happening, what process is going on, without really telling them the technical terms, without telling them the jargons of how complicated it is and everything. Trying to keep it as simple as possible, trying to build something where even the event organizers don't have to know what Web3 or crypto is. They can, get an additional source of revenue or like trying to incentivize more with the existing thing that they're doing. You just have to, instead of the other platform on Web2, just come to our platform. Like we'll offer more, right? That's the major thing that we are working towards.
Got it. So like looking at a bit on technical side, so like let's say as a user, I made a ticket, right? Like over here I'm paying in the fiat. So like how am I like getting the NFT over here? Is it like in my wallet or is it like on my like is it a different wallet created via my email or something?
Yes, yes. So when you log in with your email, what we do is we create a wallet just for that email ID. So it's like a one-to-one mapping. And for every email that's created, there's another wallet created, right? So when this email user is a non-Web3 native or like they don't understand anything, they can just log in with email and on their behalf, a wallet is created. And the keys, which is the private keys of this wallet, is not revealed or it's not like we store it. It's just that it's unrevealed yet, right? So the key is broken down, stored into different parts. And when the user understands Web3 crypto, when they want to take custody of that wallet, when they feel like, I can handle it myself, then they can, take custody of this particular wallet by retrieving the seed phrase or like private key. So this is what we do, and we use a third-party provider for this part alone. But we're planning to build that as well in-house because we wanted a lot of customizable features. Like for the MVP and like for the beta, we're using as many products as possible because we want to simplify our build cycle and ship things much faster than how long it takes usually.
Got it. So like what was the feedback? Like the major like let's say 3 points you have to describe. Like what were the three major points you got during the first event? So like
Uh,
Web2 perspective, like what did users
mhm.
feel? Or like most of the audience you were catering at that time, like having a college event for the Web2 users.
Yeah.
What were the points that you like consider while future like the future?
One thing that they mentioned was the transaction is slow. That's something which we are also trying to figure out how, because I mean, blockchain transactions are meant to be slow, right? They're not meant for like normal transactions. They have an entire mechanism. They has an entire consensus which is running on its own, which is trying to figure out all this. But main thing being it takes too much time. The second thing being from our product perspective, we weren't informing them about what exactly is happening. Like, for example, if somebody pays and after they pay, we weren't dropping a toast message long enough for them to actually read it out and say, okay, ticket is being like, created right now. It's being sent to my wallet. I'll wait. We were just dropping saying, your payment has been successful. And we didn't have send anything saying, okay, where do people see the tickets? Like, how do they get access to the tickets? All of those details, small, small details, like it's just keeping the user informed about what exactly is happening. That's something which we didn't do, which we're really trying to figure out because a lot of things are complicated on like the when you're using blockchain as your entire backend or transactional basis compared to like your normal server because you can quickly send and get response back on a normal server, but when you are using blockchain, like you send a request only when the block is mined or like only when the block is transacted and like verified, you get a request back. And getting the request back is also not confirmed all the time. There are a lot of like issues with the network, a lot of issues with like everything is just in an early stage, right? So a lot of things are not to its 100% and like 100% I'd say perfection right now. So that's something which was something we figuring out. And the third thing being, they like the UI. Like a lot of people said, like the UI which we were working on, like in the process of how do you get normal people onto Web3, their entire thought process and entire flow of user journey which they went through was pretty good. Like they enjoyed it. A lot of people told me like, I minted my first NFT in your platform. That's pretty cool. Like I was like, oh, that's nice. Like, that's very sweet. So like it's like small things like so we did the Web3 conf in Goa, right? So we did ticketing for that and my number was on the website like it still is And for support, like I'll get queries, emails, contact forms, all these things. Like you just have to like, so many things go wrong. You have to figure out all this. So like I think about 10, 15 people called me. It was totally like a different issue. Like they didn't even have some people didn't even have an issue. It's more like they just called me to tell me I minted an NFT, like, thank you so much. I was like, your platform is so good, like, I like your design, I like this, I like that. And then a few people told me like, you should change up these things, you should change these things, you should make it a little more efficient. So we got so much feedback, like that was too good. Like although like whatever like bugs or like platform is laggy, whatever you say, like so much feedback that we got, there's yeah, that we've collected which we're actually working on. So yeah.
Got it. So what are the current metrics you have like on the minted, like how many events you have done? Like so like the
Mm.
Web3 conference would be like one of the top event which you like
Yeah,
worked on.
yeah. Correct.
So
So
like
we haven't done yeah, I'll tell you. So we haven't done many events. We've done a couple of events, and we've done about 1,200 tickets. We have about 1,000 users on our platform, and a transaction volume of about, excuse me, a transaction volume of about $30,000 in overall tickets that's being minted and transacted. It's a small number, after Web3Conf, we took one step back to build the product out completely, fix few things, and then, get back. So right now we are onboarding events, like you can reach out to us if you're onboarding events, any kind of event that you want to do. We'll also help you out with like the scanning part of it. Like once you get the ticket, we do have an inbuilt scanner on our platform as well, where you can scan and let the ticket in person in. So we prevent double scanning. Like any other ticketing platform, the basics, the infrastructure is ready. It's just that the additional features like POAPs or SBTs or like any other additional Web3 native or uh, crypto native stuff that you want to customize or like add on, I think that's something which will take time for us to build and ship. But otherwise, we're essentially like an entire infrastructure. We have an entire infrastructure for ticketing platform. So that's pretty much ready.
got it. So like you got into Entler in January, I guess.
Mm.
January, February. And from then since you like got grants, so I'm assuming it would be like around 6 or 5 months of runway, right? So like
Yeah.
after that like runway, like how did you manage to raise capital, like with grants or with
Mm.
like funding rounds? Like how was your
Mm.
experience with the VCs or other protocols where you were raising?
Yeah. So initially with the Antler grants. So for someone who hasn't built a product out, we were like, okay, this is a lot of money. Right? What are you going to do with so much money? So then we started spending. We were very conservative with the spending part. We planned it out accordingly. We put an entire chart. For the 6 month runway, we pushed it to 12 months because we wanted to. We also realized that we were in the third year of college when we started, and there was no VC. I mean, we haven't seen any VC fund college students unless they have like crazy traction, right? Unless the company is like out of the world that's doing really well, they don't fund college students because it makes sense not to fund college students, right? So we wanted to push until we were done with college. That's when we will do our funding round. Like we were also clear about that. So whatever grants, whatever amount that we were planning to get from different people, we were just trying to push till the 12 months of how we're going to get there. So Antler was one major fund that helped us, and we got grants from ETH India as well. ETH India gave us a small amount, and we're trying to figure out how we can, help get help from them, how they can help us more. So we're in touch with them as well. That's one thing. The second thing being talking to different companies like Unstoppable Domains, Arcana Network, Router Protocol. All of these people, when you integrate their products, they give you grants as well. So it's more like once you have an idea at least for a dApp, and once you see the market of how many wherever the user touch points are, either a login, either a payment, either a dashboard, or either the entire infrastructure of the network. So these are the places where you can use third-party applications and integrations, and for those you can get grants based on like the company's policies or whatever they're giving. So that's how we started off. We felt like there were a few things that which is primarily required, and we needed these for our product to be built, which is basically a login flow, an entire payment cycle, this, that. So for this process, we needed so many products. We made a list of those, reach out to them, spoke to them. They were also interested because most of them knew us because of the Web3 con. That's pretty good. But yeah, like that's how we started off. There wasn't any great plan. Like I was constantly applying to like incubators, accelerators side by side. So we got into On Deck, we got into Foundership, we got into Build Space nights and weekends. There were a couple more, like we got into Microsoft, Amazon, like they have their own startup programs which they give credits for people to build on their platform, right? So Microsoft, Amazon, then there was forgot some. There's a couple more, like, so we've just explored everything. We got into Google Developer Program as well, but we weren't able to attend it because of like time constraint exams and everything. But whatever we've applied to, we've like luckily most of it we've gotten it, because just that so much that we're applying, at least like 30% or 40% of whatever you're applying you'll get in. Like it's not that hard to get into incubators and accelerators. So if you're building something, like I think that's the first thing you should be doing. Like blindly just apply for everything left, right, and center. Don't worry about how you plan to integrate that protocol right now. Just apply first, and then in case you get it, then you can get on the team and figure out how you can, because they also want yeah, they want basically their product to be integrated into your platform, and there should be some way to figure that out in case you don't really know it, right? So that's something which we're also exploring.
Got it. So like what is your like future plan as of now? Like what's in the roadmap?
Uh, so we're planning to, yeah, like go full on like from Jan, like which means that all of us will be full time because our exams will be mostly done. We're planning to raise funds from Jan to March, and after that, we planning to global events. And once we do global events, we're also planning to do a slightly different product in the site to experiment how things are working out. So it's like a lighter version of the existing product which we were building out, and which we're seeing how we can use it to get more users or like event organizers. But the main thing being we want to target the Web3 event space, meetup space in India first, and then go with the Web3 meetup space in globally, which includes ETHCC, ETH Milan, like a lot of ETH global events. That's ideally like that's something which we want to target, because there we get a mixed audience of Web 2 as well as Web 3. We get both, and we also get people who understand the technology, understand the product. It's easier for us to penetrate into the market with this kind of cushion around us, right? So that's the main reason.
Got it. And yeah, I mean that's pretty much sorted to be like at least you have a plan to be executed as of now. So I mean yeah, best wishes to you. And like looking at like early like fellow developers like now starting to build into this space, getting in. Like what kind of advice you would like to give to them? Like let's say three advice. It can be networking. It can be like because in the Web3 space it's mostly networking to be honest. Like
Yeah.
it's most of stuff goes into the place because of that. And yeah, of course, the rest of the things which you like to, give them idea about.
Okay, I mean, I'm not that great to give advice. Like, honestly, I'm still like trying to figure out things. But okay, I'll tell you what you can do or you cannot do. Okay, so networking is extremely overrated. Like, that's the first thing. Networking is extremely overrated. Like, after especially like talking to a few people, like people as in like people who are building a bigger, a greater product, greater company. They're like, if you're building something cool, people will just reach out to you. Like, it's it's bound to happen. Like you don't have to actually go network to people and everything. But I think one thing that's worked out very well for me is so I write on LinkedIn every week. It's like I put my weekly updates put together. It's just one post a week. Like I don't spam, I don't write bullshit. But whatever I'm doing, either it's a good thing or a bad thing, or like whatever has been taking time from my week, whichever consumes a lot of time. It's just like five, six things which you put out. So what I'm trying to do is I start off as building in public, right? Like how do you build entirely from public? So that's something which I started off. Like you can try that. You can try making your entire building process of how you built a product in public. So in case it's more like proof of work, right? So now that when somebody comes to your profile or something and sees what you've been doing the entire year, they can just go through and see, okay, this, you worked on so many things, all these for your product. You worked on so many horizons. It doesn't have to be just the product. It can be even you working at a company that's also fine. That you're still a builder then, right? You're still building on something. So you just more like you trying to keep the world updated about what you're doing, it's a very cliche thing, but it's more like that's a way for you to get bigger opportunities. Like, that's how people will know what you're doing. So you can put out in different ways, like you can do whatever you want, but main thing is just like keep doing something consistently over a period of time, which tracks your interest, tracks your goals, tracks your effort that you put in. How do you put it out to people? Uh, that's one thing. Second thing is yeah, yeah, networking is overrated. That's one thing. And third, I mean, there's nothing much. I think this is pretty much it. Like you can just build like you have nothing to lose if you're just building a product out. Product is still a product. It's very cool. Just start building. It's fine. Just start shipping. It's okay.
Got it. Got it. So what's like your like the major challenges as of now? As considering like looking from the product perspective, you have like multiple, of course, like the multiple like integrations to do, like features to build in, improving the user experience. Apart from it, like on the business and the marketing side, any challenges that you're like actually facing as of now?
Uh, yeah, like so we are pretty clear with the product and the nuances of how we want the product to be. That's something which we are clear, but getting there, the process of how we want it to be, there are a lot of like roadblocks that we're having. So in terms of the integration, in terms of the blockchain itself, being slow, like how do you fix these things? How do you stabilize few things, even though the network is, extremely fluctuating, extremely volatile. Like for example, if I'm going for a mint and like the gas price is very expensive or the Polygons network is down, how do you inform or how do you keep the user flow same, although in the back end all of these entire complications are happening? How do you not show all of it in the front, right? How do you try keeping the entire front part of it smooth? That's something which we're figuring out. That's one problem that we have. The second problem being uh, like I think our pricing model, like to the business part of it, we haven't focused much on the pricing model. But when we're speaking to a lot of users and customers, a lot of people are willing to pay as well. Like we weren't planning to charge initially, but now that we were like, okay, like why not? Like at the end of the day, you're literally building something to make money, right? So trying to monetize out of that at the end of the day, that's something we're also trying to figure out. We haven't figured that out. We're still not clear with it, but we have like at least 70-80% clarity with that compared to like how we were a couple of months before. So yeah, that in that perspective, we do have a problem with that. So two major challenges is one, the pricing, other one's the UI or UX that you provide to the users. How do you not show everything in terms of the things that are going wrong or things which are not working out? How do you still keep the user flow same as a Web2 platform? So yeah, these two things.
Got it. On the marketing and the business side, is it like all?
Marketing, I mean, we do have a pretty decent funnel. It's more like our plan is to like go with Web3 events. And right now, like a lot of, I think most of the Web3 companies know what Ticket is, what we're doing, because we've been attending a lot of events, at least through ETH India. We met so many people. We like, put ourselves out there. That's something which we did. The second thing is like, we want event organizers who understand Web3 and who are catering to a Web2 audience, right? Which is easier for us to sell to them, which is easier for them to like, understand the product and use it first. That's the first, like the process of, you can call it GTM, like how we're planning to go to market is this is the first step. Then after that, bigger Web3 events, people who don't understand Web3 or like, the organizer doesn't understand Web3. After that, like concerts, music, sports, like different spectrum of how you want to grow. So yeah, this is I think the next few steps.
Got it. So one more thing to ask, like, are you guys like in pre-revenue stage as of now, right?
Yeah, so we are pre-revenue right now. We have driven traction and transaction in volume, but we haven't done any revenue so far. But that's something which we feel like if we onboard more events, that's only when we can figure out which events and how do we monetize quickly. It's not more about us trying to write down a pricing or a business model. That wouldn't work. It's just experimental. Like some event this price, some event this price, some event no price. Like it depends on how the event goes, number of people, what kind of event, all of that, right? So yeah, that's something which,
Got
yeah,
it. Yeah, that's something that makes sense at an early level, to be honest. Because you don't know like what exactly is the customer potential over here, or like the
yeah.
scale event. Like there are many multiple factors to be considered. Yeah, I mean that's pretty great. And so yeah, I mean like we are pretty much done, to be honest. And yeah, so like you like anything you want to let your audience know about like your it can be anything actually.
Uh, I mean, there's nothing like, I mean, there's there's one thing I have to say. I mean, not that complicated to like start and getting into blockchain. People think it's very hard, it's very complicated in tech wise, but once you learn one blockchain, like literally 95 to 96% of all the blockchains around it have the same structure, same mechanism. It's just the 4% of features which changes on each blockchain, but 95% of the structure and the mechanism is the same. It's actually easier than ML and AI, I'd say, because in ML and AI you have so much like diversion, so many chances of doing this, doing that. But in blockchain, the fundamentals, there's only one. Like there's only the bare minimum skeleton of all blockchains is the same, right? What you can build on top is obviously like it's a product. So obviously people are very innovative with that. But it's not that hard to get in. I think anybody can get in.
Got it. So before we end, one question over here. So were you like were you the one of the people those who actually had funds in FTX?
Oh no no no! I have it in Binance and Coin86, but yeah, mostly in Binance. So if things go wrong, then yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I think during the FTX, whatever was happening, I actually went and bought a hardware ledger. I was like, okay,
Okay.
I need it now. I need it, and I actually bought it. It's been there on the plan for long, but yeah, thanks to SPF, made me spend another 10,000 rupees on that.
Got it. So
Yeah,
you're one of the lucky people as of now, at least.
yeah,
At least as of now. Yeah.
yeah. As of now,
Got it, man.
yeah.
I mean, that was like a great conversation with you. So before we end, guys, like so we Aurora India are L2 layer based on near protocol. So we are mostly a EVM and trying to basically like help developers, projects, and other protocols onboard onto our platform, onboard onto near protocol and Aurora. And so we help like mostly the things we actually are helping in is like having a better transaction speed, having a better technical support, making it easier for developers to basically come on to onboard over here, and making it like one of the first way like to get in the mass adoption space. So that's like most of the stuff we are doing. So if you guys are like anyone building in the Web3 space, it can be anything in any vertical, but in the Web3, but you can just apply to the grants. You might find the link in the description, the or various other like in the on the our platform itself. So it's the website is aurora.dev. So you can go check it out and apply for the grants. And if you need any help in case, you can join a Telegram channel, or you can contact us on Twitter, and we might be like we will be happy to help you and get you grants as well and other technical support as well. So yeah, thanks for joining in, Yuvan. It was great knowing about your journey. And I mean, pretty much most of the people listening to us would have enjoyed it, of course, learning from you. So yeah, of course, thanks for joining in. And
Thank you
thank you.
so much. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's great talking to you.
Thank you. Bye bye, everyone.
Bye bye. See you.